that shim is probably the most valuable piece of the kit that Taylor Guitars is providing, or at least what that shim represents, because what it represents is the ability to micro adjust the most critical aspect of the setup of the guitar, which is what? What's the most critical aspect of the setup
neck
of
angle.
the guitar? Neck angle, right? So we're going to be establishing good setup at the source of what controls good setup, which is the angle of the neck. So let's define neck angle refers to the relationship between what we call the level plane of the frets and the top of the guitar. A high angle is a neck that comes up too steeply. A low angle is a neck that goes downhill into the top of the guitar. We don't want either of those. A correct neck angle is one where the level plane of the frets extended lands exactly at the top edge of the bridge. So let's take the saddle out of the equation for the moment, because that doesn't factor in. If you already have your neck on the body, just leave it on and check the angle with whatever shim you happen to have in there. Unless you have the neck attached without a shim. Hopefully you don't. So we have a pocket in here which is just like an electric guitar bolt-on neck pocket. We have tapered shims. These shims are always the same thickness as the depth of the pocket right here, so that should be perfectly level always. But then they raise or lower at the other end to micro adjust the angle. The number on the shim represents how many thousandths of difference in thickness there is at the sound hole end of the shim. We didn't give you every value in our array. Hopefully the selection that we have, well, you know, if you go from a 24 to a 22, you don't necessarily notice much. That's really splitting hairs. So I kind of spaced them out apart, but maybe with experience we'll find that we need to fill in some of those values in between. The advantage of this over just taking a piece of your matchbook cover to shim it up is that there's full wood support behind the extension of the neck back here. This has never got any air between the back of the neck and the pocket because of the tapered shim that fills up that space. Okay, so let's move on to the process. If your neck is not attached yet, say start with a number 8 shim. I think that's about in the middle of the spectrum of what we have. Anything.
8 stands for 8,000.
So that means that this shim is 8/1000ths of an inch thicker at the sound hole end of that shim. So it's going to put 8/1000ths of angle rotation into the neck. So and just get in the habit of putting these in with the numbers showing, just so when you take the neck off you can see right away what it is. I have pre-waxed the screws, and by the way, make sure now at this point that you substitute out for the longer screw, not the shorter ones that were initially. Even if this comes through the paddle, through the platform, that's fine. We want as much purchase in this pocket as we can. And I pre-waxed them so that we're not running a risk of, you know, binding and breaking the screws on the way in. So we can set the back of the neck right here, and we can just go ahead and drive those 2 screws in. So the next step, now that we've got the neck on, is we want to see what our angle looks like. So the correct, did I say this already? I'll say it again. The correct neck angle is with the level plane of the frets extending right to the top edge of the bridge right here. So I'm going to see if I can see that. This is way too high of an angle. Sorry, way too low of an angle, meaning that my action is going to be too high. Because as I sight along the fret, I see a whole bunch of the top of the bridge sitting above the fretboard. If you want a tactile confirmation of that, 24-inch or so straight edge. See how far down below the surface of the bridge. We want that to be just right exactly there. So, what did I say? The angle is too low, right? Which will make the action too high. If you need to raise the angle, you raise the number on the shim. So that's what we'll do. I have a number 8 in there. I'm guessing, based on experience, which you guys will gain as you do these over and over, that this probably needs to go up. I'm going to go well, I don't know, what are the numbers? If I go from 8, the next one is 12, next one is 16. I'm going to skip all the way to the 16. Might as well kind of bracket it. If this is too high of an angle, then we'll know that the one in between is our best option. So I'm taking out the 8 and replacing it with the 16. It's that guitar body, so resonant, amplifying the sound. Okay, let's look again. It's a little better, but I don't know that it's quite there. We might have to go. Let's see. Well, that's doing what I said it should do. There's something I should mention too, which is the depth of the pocket is going to affect this as well. Ideally, it's like it is right here, the depth that you route the pocket leaves the fretboard, the bottom edge of the fretboard pretty much right at the top. So you don't really want to see mahogany sticking way up above the top of the guitar, nor do you want to see the fretboard way down into the pocket, because all that's going to change the relationship between the fret plane and the top of the bridge, right? So the guideline that I gave you, which is aligning the fret plane to the top of the bridge, is based on the fretboard being at the correct height, the neck sitting at the correct height. If you routed your pockets correctly, that'll be no problem. Okay, so this angle looks good enough for me to go ahead and string up, for us to go ahead and string up the guitar.